Local programming on KRWG made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to Your Legislators, a production of KRWG Broadcasting. Your Legislators is a public service program providing our viewing audience in southern New Mexico the opportunity to hear about important legislative issues directly from their elected representatives in Santa Fe.
Legislators, I'm your host, Samantha Sonner. We are joined today by our guest, Representative Andy Nuñez from District 36. Thanks for joining us, Andy.
Oh, thank you, Samantha. Good to be here.
Okay, so let's get started. You've served 12 years in the legislature in the past, both as a Democrat and an independent, and you're now serving as a Republican. The Republicans are controlling the House now for the first time in over 60 years. How is the legislature different from when you first started?
Oh, it's a lot different, but we're still getting things done, and it's not as contentious as it was before, because I think the Republicans, and I've been in a majority on both of them, we're working real good, and it's really going good. I don't see any problems.
Okay, so you are vice chair of the Agriculture, Water, and Wildlife Committee, and during your campaign you talked about wanting to work on water issues. Could you tell me a little bit about what you've been doing up in Santa Fe since you got started?
Yes, well, the water issue to me is the biggest problem we have in the state of New Mexico, and we have several bills in the hopper to do with water, and some of them are for the Lower Rio Grande Water Users Association that we've introduced to get some money so that the Water Resources Research Institute can do some surveying and research so that we can see what we need and start getting our plan put together on how best to use water that we have, because we don't have enough water. And we know we've got a lawsuit from Texas, and so we've got to know how we can work that out.
Now, I know you already had one bill pass, and that is for Water Policy Week. Could you talk to me a little bit about that?
Come again? I didn't quite get that.
You have already had a bill pass to celebrate Water Policy Week or Water Awareness Week. Could you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, you know, New Mexico State, does a lot of research, and so that's why we're trying to put the money with them. And so, if that's what you're referring to, yes.
I'm referring to the Water Policy Day, where you're focusing on different water issues in the legislature.
Well, the different water issues that we have are conservation, and some of these other things that we've got some bills. Matter of fact, the committee's meeting this morning, as we're speaking, and it's on a conservation bill being introduced by Representative McCamley. And we got some others that, trying to get funds from one place to the other, and that's the problem. We don't have money in the hopper, so I don't know what we're going to do because of the lack of money.
Okay, so are there any other water bills making their way through the House that you're excited about right now?
Well, the ones I'm excited about are the ones that I've introduced, of course. But we've got some, like I say, that we're trying to get some money to complete the water plans. The state engineer has to complete the water plan for the state of New Mexico, for the 16 regions and the state water plan. And so hopefully we'll get enough money to get that moving and get it going, because without a water plan, we don't know what we're doing. And we also got some bills in there to get some money for the state engineer to complete the adjudication process. And my understanding is that on the Lower Rio Grande, they're only about 40% complete on the adjudication, and they've been working on it for several years. And I don't think that's the way to do things. I think they ought to be able to complete it a lot sooner than they have been.
Okay, so let's talk about driver's licenses. You have been very vocal on your position that you want to deny issuing driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants. Could you talk to me a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. We got that out of one committee after about 5 hours of testimony, and we're going to hear it in front of Judiciary tomorrow here in Santa Fe. So, and it's been, the whole bill, has been modified some because of what President Obama, has made some changes on who can be here and who can't. And so we had to change the bill to comply with that federal thing that the president put in there. But it's a good bill, and you know, the state of New Mexico cannot be in the business of issuing driver's license to non-native, not only people that, foreigners, but people from out of state that come in here and want to get New Mexico license. You know, it's, our licenses are for New Mexico residents and not for other people, you know, and if you come from Texas to get one, you got to wait a while. But if you come from Mexico or Brazil or China, what this people do in the bill we have now, they come in and get a driver's license right away. And anybody, we can't allow that. And that's what this bill is trying to do, prevent that.
Now, a lot of people say that offering driver's licenses to the undocumented immigrants allows them to get things like car insurance and prevents them from fleeing the scene of an accident. How do you feel about that position?
I think that's a fallacy in that. In the first place, the biggest part of these that are coming in, they come in 10 or 12 at a time, don't even own a car. And then the ones that do have a car, they can buy insurance. And you know, insurance state of New Mexico, you only get it for 6 months, but you only have to pay 1 month. And they get it, go ahead and get their insurance and pay 1 month, and then they don't get it again. And I know that's a fact, because it wasn't been 2 months ago, my wife was running into it at the grocery store. And the individual had a license, but no insurance. And so that insurance thing is, to me, is not a good reason. And all of the law enforcement in the state of New Mexico, except in Santa Fe, the only ones that testified against that bill is the police chief here in Santa Fe. Everyone from the federal, the sheriff, and all of them have testified in support of our bill.
Now, do you see this bill getting very far past the House?
Oh, we'll get it out of the House, I'm sure. And hopefully we got enough senators over there that don't want to break the law, and will vote for it. I was sent up here as a lawmaker, not a lawbreaker.
Okay, so another controversial bill that is being talked about right now is the right to work. Could we talk about that for a little while?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's another one that I'm on also. And the right to work, it's not an anti-union bill, and that's what they're trying to say it is, but it's not. The only thing you're doing, it's a matter of choice. If you want to join a union, you can, but if you don't want to, you don't have to pay any dues or fees. And right now, that's not the way the case. If they don't join and they're getting the benefits supposedly of what the unions have given or fought for, that you have to pay a fee. Well, our bill just says that if you don't want to join a union, you don't have to, and you don't pay any dues or anything if you don't want to.
Now, the Senate Majority Leader, Michael Sanchez, has said that Governor Martinez's reports on right to work are false. Do you think any more research needs to be done about the benefits or the cons of the right to work bill?
Yes, well, you know, that's a battle that the governor and Michael Sanchez have had. And but the thing is about right to work, a good right to work laws, you know, make a big benefit. We have companies that won't come here because of the right. We don't have a right to work law. And you know, the state of Michigan, you know, where all of the big unions and all that, they are now a right to work state. And so we need to do that in New Mexico so business can come in and not have to worry. That's just one step. There's a lot of others, but the right to work is one of the criteria that companies look at before they move here.
Now, obviously, the driver's licenses and the right to work are most likely to get out of the House, but how do you see those bills faring in the Senate?
Well, we're hopefully we're going to be able to convince some of the senators to go along with us and get both of those bills out. And it's good for the state, both of them. And hopefully, you know, we in the House, the majority of us in the House, know it's good for the state, both of them. And so we'll get it out of the House. And I hope that we can really convince some senators to vote for both of them.
Now, you talked a little bit about economic development with the right to work and getting businesses to come to New Mexico. What else do you think can be done to get businesses to come here?
Well, another thing, and I've also introduced another bill. It's on regulatory reform, cutting down on some of the regulations that we have that a lot of companies won't come in here because of them. And so I've introduced a large bill, and it was just dropped there, and it just got it out the day before yesterday. and it's also to do that to kind of ease up on some of the regulations that we have that prevent some of the companies from coming in. That's just one more step, like the right to work and that regulatory reform.
Could you talk to me a little bit about some of those regulations that are preventing businesses from coming in here?
Well, some of them, like in the oil and gas, the fracking and all some of these others, that we have, that prevent some of these companies from coming in, and excess fees that they charge them. And there's a lot of things that we need to do, that we need to change. And we're going to do it with this bill.
Okay, great. So you've spoke in the past about your support for higher education. Right now, a lot of people are concerned about the fate of the lottery scholarship. There are a few bills working their way through the House dealing with the lottery scholarship. Could you talk to me a little bit about your position on those?
Well, the lottery scholarship is it's got some problems, but I don't know whether we're going to ever get anything out, because that the lottery scholarship was Senator Michael Sanchez's bill, and he don't want anybody touching that. And we've introduced other changes to that thing in the past, and it's never even gotten to the Senate floor. But we need to make some changes. It's going to go broke, and I think that Senator Smith from Deming has introduced a bill to where they can use a credit card to get lottery, to improve, buy tickets and that. And so I don't know how far that's going to go, but we need to get some more money into the lottery scholarship. And it's always been my contention that a young student that just graduated from high school, a lot of them do not want to immediately go into college. And so, and when they have to go immediately after high school into the universities to get the lottery scholarship, I think that's wrong. And a lot of them should wait a year or two and then come in and still be eligible for it. And that's my position, but I haven't introduced a bill to that.
Okay, so could you talk to me a little bit more about higher education? Are there any bills that you are looking at in the House right now?
Well, there's a lot of different bills that we have going on right now, and some of them have to do with the medicine. And I'm on the health committee with Dr. McMillan, and we had on some where some of the anesthesiologists can't do any, not nurses, but the what do they call them anyway? They can't do it, practice anywhere except at the University of New Mexico Medical School. So we had a bill yesterday, to where allow these young men, if a hospital in Roswell or Las Cruces wants to allow these assistants to practice, that they can. And a lot of these rural hospitals don't have anesthesiologist assistants. And so we got a lot of other bills, coming in. That's just one of them.
Now, you talked a little bit about sending the anesthesiologists to other areas. Rural medicine is a big issue. You are on the health committee. Is there any bills focusing on medicine and doctors in the rural areas?
Well, yes, so that's one of them, the one that allows some of more of these technicians to go to the rural areas, because a lot of these doctors won't go to the rural areas if they don't have the proper assistance and that. And so we are working on that, and I think Dr. McMillan is getting some legislation put together where we can do just that.
Okay, great. So you also introduced a bill to add more funding for New Mexico State University. Could you talk to me a little bit about what you want that funding to be used for?
Yes, I introduced some bills to get more money into the Cooperative Extension Service and the Agricultural Experiment Station. And that was a lot of that about 3 or 4 years ago. They reduced it and cut it off, and so they lost a lot of folks. And these people, the Extension Service goes out, and they're not only just with agriculture, they're working on diabetes and a lot of other things, and of course the 4-H programs. And we need to get some more money in there so they can expand that and get back to where they were before, because they had to relieve some or let some folks go out and now they have to fill those positions. So that's one of the bills that I introduced for the university, and so hopefully it'll get through.
Now, obviously, with falling gas prices, the budget is going to be tighter this year. Do you see that bill getting through with the more money because there is going to be such a tight budget this year?
Well, if I was going to bet money on it right now, I wouldn't bet because the last revenue projection we got a couple of days ago is down to 83 million. And that's, it started out at 240 million, and now it's down to 83 million. So it's going to be hard to fund a lot of these projects that we're looking at. And hopefully someday prioritize them and come up with the ones that they think are better and fund them. But no, we can't just say all of them are going to be funded because there's no money.
Yeah, how do you see the budget working this year with the revenue projections being so off because of the falling gas prices?
Now come again, I didn't quite get that question.
How do you see the budget process going through this legislative session with the tight budget?
Well, I'm not too sure how it's going to do because the House has their Appropriations Committee and they come up with all these ideas, and then the Senate Finance has their own ideas, and it's going to be right at this point I couldn't tell you how it's going to come out because the Senate Finance is finally the ultimate place where the funding is going to come from, and so I don't want at this point I wouldn't predict anything.
Okay, so another big issue this legislative session has been this idea of social promotion for the third graders who aren't testing at reading levels. Could you talk to me a little bit about that?
Yes, that bill has gone through and there was a lot of discussion on it, but the House committee, first committee passed it out, Education Committee, and I think it'll go all the way through the House, and we'll just see how it comes out in the Senate. I noticed some of the Senate education members don't like it, but I think it's necessary, and hopefully we get it all the way through, and because there's money put in there, the governor put money in before to get more tutors to help these kids, from kindergarten on up, so they could read by the time they're in the third grade, and so it's a very good bill.
Okay, so a lot of people are saying that if you don't let the third graders go on to fourth grade, it's going to create some more problems in the future for them because they have been held back that year. What do you think about that position?
Well, I don't think that's right. I think if you promote them, I think it's going to create problems for them the rest of their life because, you've got to be able to read before you can do anything. And so I think it's just the opposite. If you hold them back, you're helping them out, and they'll catch up. And a lot of them, if they're trained properly, they'll probably catch up and go on. But the way they are, if they can't read, they're going to stay behind forever.
Okay, so are you planning on introducing any other legislation this upcoming session?
I hope not. I don't want to be introducing too many bills. I just want to take care of the ones I have. However, I do have people come and ask me, to help them, some bills. And if it's in agriculture, water, and that, it's hard for me to turn someone down. I introduced a bill yesterday to do a hydrological survey for a Colfax, Union, and them counties so to see how the water tables are and all of that. Because them folks, they asked me to, they're good ranchers, good friends of mine, and it'll help the state. If you remember or know about it, a couple of years ago, the community of Maxwell, their wells went out and they didn't know anything about the water, so that's what this bill's for, is for someone to do, the university, New Mexico State University, to do a hydrological survey to see the water issues up there.
Okay, so Representative Nuñez, what do you think is the biggest issue that the legislature has to address this session?
Well, I think in my estimation, the biggest issue we have in the state is water. But we've got a lot of others. Is we have to prioritize how the money's going to be spent in education. It's big, they get the biggest part of the money, and so we have to resolve that. But we got to resolve our water problems, and to me, that is I think is the biggest problem we have.
Okay, so how do you see the water bills faring out this session?
Well, I think I'm not sure how they're going to all prioritize all of these bills, but we're going to have to get this educational thing going, like you say, the social promotion and some of the others, and then see how much money we have, and then go to, you know, to the Medicaid, and then, but water, we're going to have to put some water in to solve our water problems.
So if you had to prioritize the water bills right now, which do you see as being the most important?
Well, I think what we need to do is get the water plan complete and adjudication. Because without adjudication, you really don't know how much water we have or who owns it. And until we do that, you know, economic development is kind of stymied. And so we need to get those done. And once we get that done, then we can move forward on some of the other projects.
Could you talk to me a little bit about how water influences economic development?
Well, if you don't have water, you can't, if someone wants to come in and put in a factory and they don't have water, how are they going to put in a factory? Or it affects agriculture too, big time. And so, like all the big things we're having going down at Santa Teresa, they had to get in to get some water. But if they didn't have the water, that would never happen. And then like in Las Cruces, we got some communities springing up, and if they don't have the water, what are they going to do? You can't bring in any businesses there.
Okay, so is that a problem that businesses talk about when they are looking to come into New Mexico?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, they look and see whether we got the water problem supplies or not. Oh yeah, they can't come in unless they do have water. Yeah.
Okay, so this is your first term in the House as a Republican. How has that been different for you? Have the Republicans been welcoming?
Oh, well, I'm the vice chair of the Agricultural, Water, and we added wildlife to that committee. And no, the Republicans, I've been working with Republicans for years. I'm not a party guy. I work both sides of the aisle, always have. And I'm an issues man, you know, and it's the issue that I work, not what the party says. And I'll continue doing that.
Okay, so is there anything else that you are really excited about this session?
Yes, to hurry up and finish. Yeah, well, you know, without spending too much money.
Right, it is a longer session. Is that giving you the opportunity to get more things passed?
Well, it's a long session, yes, but we don't need to be introducing you know, so many bills, you know, that we can't act on them and act on them properly. And that's the big thing. We need to, when a bill comes up, we need to be able to look at it and work on it. And if you have too many, what happens is you start throwing bills out there and they don't get enough attention. And so in my estimation, we ought to put a rule in the House and the Senate that puts a sunset clause on every bill. That way, if the bill's good in 5 years, you'll reauthorize it. If not, it's gone. And I think that's one of the things we need to do to kind of speed things up and make things better.
Okay, so what do you feel is your biggest accomplishment so far as a member of the legislature?
Well, I've had several. The spaceport bill, that was my bill, getting the spaceport in, and some other things at the university. We got the Joe Skeen building there. I was the one that helped get that thing through. Now, there's several, you know, that I have gotten through in 13 years, you know. But I think that all of them that I put in were good, or I wouldn't have added them.
Now, you said the spaceport was your bill. How do you see the future of the spaceport with Virgin Galactic crashing last year?
Well, I've been disappointed in the way it's being run, and I've told them that, the commission. And there's 2 bills introduced this session in the Senate. One of them is to not allow the Spaceport Commission to bond any more money and to be careful in how they spend their money. And then there's another one that's was introduced in the Senate for the spaceport to be sold to private industry. And so we're going to see how they come out of the Senate. Yeah, one of them was Senator Munoz from Gallup introduced the one to just sell the spaceport. And Senator Carter from Las Cruces is the one that introduced the bill, you know, to prevent any more bonding until they pay off the bonds they have.
Now, how do you feel about both of those bills with you having originally introduced the spaceport bill?
Well, the way it's going right now, I think that private industry could run it better than the state is, but I don't know that we want to go that far. I just have to look at the bill. It hadn't come over yet, and then Senator Carter's, I think, is a good bill to prevent them from bonding any more money till to pay off the ones they have, because they're using the money that Doña Ana and Sierra County did for administration instead of putting it into where they're supposed to be.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for joining us, Representative Nuñez. And thank you for watching this episode of Your Legislators. We'll see you next week.